Your report shows strong growth in Dubai's hotel inventory.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Especially in 4 and 5-star categories.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you think the city risks oversupply in the premium segment?
Look, I think if you look at the occupancy rates year to date, we're at just over 80% occupancy rate within the city, and with a third of that supply being in that premium segment, it tells us that there's probably some way to go before we get to that stage.
Okay.
So I would say, personally, and we're looking at Q3 results in the report as well. Historically, there was a seasonality to tourism within the UAE and Dubai in particular, but now that seasonality seems to have disappeared, and people are here, all year round. So.
I mean, I'm gonna go off the grid for a bit.
Yeah,
You
no
look
problem.
at the numbers, you look at the graphs. Can you paint a picture for us on what that actually looks like? Because we all talk about the boom and we feel it. We feel it in the traffic, we feel it when we're walking, we feel it in the malls, in the hotel lobbies. What does it look like for you on the actual graphs between Q3 and Q4?
Look, I think we've had a very, very positive Q3 this year. This sort of post-COVID trend of summers, the summer lulls being a thing of the past, that's come true this year for sure. And I think if we look at what's happening, Dubai in particular, the UAE and the region itself has become quite influential. You look at what's been happening from a geopolitics perspective, peace negotiations happening in the region, you look at the macroeconomics, FDI is up across the region, Dubai is benefiting, hugely from that. And then, that all filters through to the hospitality sector with, more international travellers than ever before. We're at nearly 12.5 million international travellers. A third of those are from one fifth of those are from Western Europe, and the UK. So I think it's all positive signs. And with Q4 coming around the corner, which is traditionally our busiest period, really, really positive outlook for what's to come.
You said two things that I want to touch on. You've already mentioned the occupancy rate. So occupancy and ADR are both going up this year.
Yes.
What's driving the gains the most right now? Is it events, business travel?
I think, look, it's a combination. It's sort of like the perfect storm, if you like, of all these things, right? You've got the macroeconomics of geopolitics, which is driving some of that business travel as well. And then if you look at the tourism itself and the landscape, Western Europe, Eastern Europe, CIS countries, this is a very friendly place, very easy to get to, with major airlines such as Emirates and Etihad flying direct to the UAE, and this helps to drive these numbers. And also, if you look at what's happening from some of these other traditional areas that people would travel to in the summer, perhaps the Mediterranean, the supply is perhaps a little bit aging, So here you've got wonderful amenities, wonderful facilities. If you're a family and you're traveling, you've got everything available within that resort, So I think all these things happen, and now coming into the events season, with the golf swing, the F1, the Dubai Rugby Sevens, and more to come, even touching on some of the other GCC countries and their event seasons. It's all positive stuff, which is helping to drive these numbers.
There really is something for everyone. It's not just a slogan.
Yeah.
You touched on the Western European and GCC remain the biggest source markets, but are there any emerging visitor markets or travel behavior that has really surprised you?
Yeah, actually, what's surprising me is the increase from the Americas. So, North, South, Central America. A lot more visitors from those regions coming to Dubai in particular than ever before. We've even seen that. If we just slightly touching on the brand residences side of things, we've seen a big interest from Mexicans, buyers on that, some of our data, which is very, very interesting. So I think, you look at these things. I think Dubai has created itself, in particular in the UAE and Abu Dhabi as well, and the wider GCC in creating this hub, this sort of hub between East and West, centrally located and very easy to get to.
That's super interesting. I would have never guessed that that's what you would have said.
Yeah.
So, with 2025 on track for 19.5 million international arrivals, what factors do you think will determine whether Dubai can sustain this momentum going into 2026?
Look, I think Dubai is amazing at reinventing itself, and it never rests on its laurels. I look at myself and my personal situation. I grew up here, my children are born here, that's third generation here. And I look around me and all the people that are coming here and all these visitors that keep coming here, they're all looking to stay, and there's people who I know from the UK, for example, who historically would never have picked Dubai as a destination to travel to, and they're all coming here in their droves now, So I think Dubai's got a lot to offer, be that from the Gulf, from the sun, the sea, the sand, and also from a business perspective, If you're looking to go anywhere within this region, East Africa, India, Pakistan, some of these areas, this is a great place to sort of stop off on the way as well. So you can tag on a hotel with that business travel, And so there's all these little factors and nuances that come into play. But I would liken it to the fact that what I think Dubai is really successfully done is Dubai is the equivalent of a Monaco, a Jersey, a BVI, a Cayman Islands, a Delaware for this region. And whereas those, the sort of Central North American and European equivalents cater to around 400 million people, Dubai, within a 4-hour flight radius, Dubai's got a third of the world's population within a 4-hour flight radius.
Okay, final question. Based on everything that you know and the numbers that you have and the data that you work with, is there anything that Dubai needs to do to ready itself for this influx of new visitors?
Well, actually, if you look at what the situation is now in terms of hotel keys, hotel rooms in Dubai, we're at about 155,000 currently. That's the supply at the moment. There's another 5,000 due to be handed over in the coming 12 months. That's a further 19 hotels on top of the just over 800 hotels that are currently within Dubai. I would suspect by the time we're looking at the pipeline of what's to come by the end of the decade, we're going to get to about 165, maybe even close to 170,000 hotel rooms within Dubai. And if you look at the occupancy rates, over 80%, for the first half of this year, maintaining nearly 80%, including Q3, what's to come in Q4 tells us it's a very optimistic outlook to come.
Wowza. Well, thank you so much. That was
pleasure.
Very insightful.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.